Hey guys, today I'm going to talk to you about how unjust the United States and Canadian governments have become. Well, I'm going to start from the beginning. My parents divorced in the early 90s. Uh, my dad remarried in the late 90s, and again, he got divorced in the early 2000s, I believe, around 2001, 2002. Anyways, around this time, he took $100,000 of his money and he transferred it from his Canadian bank account to another bank account in another town over, the next town over, but which happened to be the State Bank of India. So from his Canadian bank account to a State Bank of India account just in the next town over. And that's where the troubles began. The $100,000 my dad transferred to the State Bank of India had already been taxed. And a year later, he moved the money back into his Prospera account. But the Canadian government or the Canada Revenue Agency says, no, you made this money in India and you didn't declare it, I guess, and that you owe it, even though it had already been taxed. So, and things progressed from there. My dad never had a business in India. He never been there, well, other than the time he went there to get married in '99. They wanted around another $50,000 to $60,000 Canadian, and my dad, that's where the argument began. Like, he's like, no, this money had already been taxed. I just transferred from one account and back to my Prospera account. Like, it was just transferring between accounts. No money was made in India. Nothing happened, and it escalated from there. They actually went after my mom, even though my parents had been divorced over 10 years at this point. So my dad showed him divorce papers, like, why are you going after my ex-wife? I've been remarried since. And the CRA's response was, it doesn't matter what the courts decide, it only matters what we decide. So pretty much saying that my parents are still married, even though they've been divorced for 10 years, and my dad had remarried and divorced his ex-wife. And they never went after my dad's second wife. And that's where I started suspecting these agents might be related to my dad's second wife, and this was just revenge because she got nothing from the divorce because she signed a prenup. So yeah, they started going after my mom for the money, which made no sense, and now they wanted $100,000. So they added around $40,000 in interest and penalties on that original 50,000-60,000 extra they wanted from my dad. And another year went by. After that they wanted $320,000, and the year after that they ballooned it up to around $450,000. So I don't know, but my dad's a handyman. We got to remember, there's no way he can pay that much money off or make that much money. So yeah, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. When my parents got divorced in the early 90s, they came to an agreement that our house belonged to my mom. And what happened is she never got it transferred to her name. And so when this problem with the CRA came up, she wanted to transfer the house into her name. But the problem was my dad's second wife had put a lien on the house, so we couldn't do that. So once we finally tracked down my dad's second wife, we got the lien removed, but my mom had gone to India with my sisters. So my mom just wanted the house out of my dad's name, and so she told me to put it in my name. So I got it put in my name, and once I had it in my name, I sold the house and transferred the money into my mom's account. And that's about it. I never had the money or anything like that. Didn't get a penny out of it. But the Canadian government or the CRA decided I'm liable at that point for my dad's $500,000 tax debt, which I call a fake debt because they're completely making this stuff up. And that is where the threats began. The CRA decided to start threatening me. They threatened to take my passport away if I didn't talk to them. They threatened to make up new debts, come after me. They said they were going to make my life miserable. Just completely abusing their power, pretty much. So yeah, I pretty much ignored them. Like, I don't want to talk to you if you're just gonna keep threatening me. If you want to talk to me, you can talk to me with a lawyer present. But of course they don't want to do that. My dad didn't want to hire a lawyer because he was like, either the CRA takes your money or the lawyers take all your money. If the CRA wants the money they think he owes them, that they can just take him to court. And of course they didn't want to do that either. But we told the CRA many times, if you want the money, if you think we owe it, you're going to have to take us to court. And they know they're lying, so they're never going to do it. If they were telling the truth, they would have no problems taking my dad to court, or even me to court. And each time we do ask them a question, the response is always the same. We'll be asking all the questions. That's their response to anything we ask. We'll be asking all the questions. They don't want to talk, they just want to dictate. In 2011, my mom remarried to an American, and we try to fix her tax problems in Canada. And like, okay, she's been remarried to another person now in the States. And the response was the same. Like, doesn't matter what the United States government decides. According to them, her and my dad are still married, even though now they've both been remarried since their divorce in the early 90s. So I'm positive these agents are related to my dad's second wife. So in 2018, I received a letter from the IRS that they're going to try to collect the $400,000 from me on behalf of the Canadian government. I wasn't sure how they were going to do that because I have no money, no assets, no job, no car. I got nothing. If you watch my previous videos, you know I've got absolutely nothing. So I was like, all right, I guess we'll find out what happens next. I received these letters from the IRS saying they're gonna put a lien on my bank account. I had no bank account, so even the IRS is making stuff up now. Like, I have nothing. How are you gonna collect money from me when I have nothing? And after a while, I started believing maybe I do have $400,000 just laying around somewhere. Like, have you seen that episode of Next Gen where Picard is captured by the Romulans and they're trying to convince him that there are 5 lights instead of 4? It's pretty much the same thing. I started believing maybe I do have $400,000 just laying around somewhere. It was ridiculous. So I tried getting help, legal help, ACLU, other pro bono lawyers, or any sort of organization. No such luck. So I started emailing senators here in the States, members of parliament back in Canada. Absolutely no help. Everyone assumed either I was lying or making this stuff up. I'm like, you can't make this shit up. This is what they're doing. So I kept doing that, just kept emailing MPs and senators here in the States and members of the House. No help. I tried the media. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, CBC back home in Canada. Absolutely no help. They didn't want to believe me, or they just didn't want to do their jobs. I'm not sure what the deal with them is. Might be one of the reasons no one trusts the mainstream media. The mainstream media is just too busy in their propaganda for their parties, whether it's Fox News or CNN. All they do is propaganda. They don't care about actual stories. And one local news station here actually said, I'm sorry, but we don't cover personal matters. And like, isn't all news personal matters? Like, how is this a personal matter? This has to do with corruption in highest levels of government. But I'm like, all right, they just didn't want to cover the story. So that's why I'm on here. I'm like, I'll do it on here. I'll tell my story on YouTube. So I started noticing this guy following me around here in LA. Wherever I went, he just seems to be following me around. It was a cream colored SUV. He was perhaps in his mid 40s, white male, mid 40s, kind of bulky, chubby, maybe not fat, but just a little bit chubby. And wherever I went, I noticed him just following me around. I guess he was looking for the money or what I'm doing, or I have no idea. And it was soon after this, I came back from the movies. It was late at night, around 10 p.m., and I was assaulted in my backyard. This person punched me in the back of the head repeatedly, knocked my glasses right off, knocked me to the ground, and he said if I don't start paying my tax debts, that they're gonna call immigration on me. And if I told anyone what had happened here, that they were gonna call, again, immigration on me. So either the Canada Revenue Agency or the IRS hired someone to assault me in my own home to pretty much scare me into paying my tax debts, I guess, which are not my tax debts, not my dad's either. They're making this shit up. At first, I was a bit afraid to go to the LAPD, but after a while, I finally went in, and of course, they didn't believe me. They had told me to go talk to the FBI. The FBI told me to go talk to the LAPD, and this went on for a while. And it actually took me 2 years to get the LAPD to take a statement. And so far, nothing has happened. So I've contacted the RCMP back home, the Abbotsford Police Department, and again, nothing has happened. I was pretty much told they're up there, pretty much meaning above the law. They can do whatever they want, I guess. They can make stuff up, they can assault you, and they're not liable. They can do whatever they like. Doesn't sound much like a just democracy, more like a dictatorship. I keep emailing members of parliament, senators, members of the House, journalists in the mainstream media. I don't know if we can call them journalists, but still no response. Nobody wants to tell my side of the story. I owe $400,000, but these multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies don't pay a single dime. Maybe that's the reason why, because the corporate news media doesn't want to or I don't know. It's, I guess they're just covering up for their corporations, because that's who the mainstream media serves, corporations, not individuals. I filed a complaint with the CRA ombudsman. So far, nothing has happened. Not sure who else I can file a complaint with. I've filed complaints with the Canadian Justice Department, the American Justice Department. Got a call from the special agent from the United States Treasury Department. I told them everything that happened. So far, nothing has become of that either. You name it, I filed a complaint with it. I've told them everything that had happened, and that they made the whole thing up. They won't back it up with taking it to court or to the Canadian tax court. I've been assaulted, threatened to ruin my life, threatened to make up new tax debts, but none of them are willing to do anything. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? If you can't afford a lawyer, one will be given to you or provided for you. Drug dealers get them, criminals get them, but the Canadian government knows I'm innocent, so they're definitely not going to provide me with a lawyer because I can afford one. It's around $300 an hour for a lawyer. It's more like guilty, and if you can't prove yourself innocent, you just remain guilty, and that's not how just democracies work. This is more like a fascist, an elected dictatorship. That would be more appropriate, yeah. In Canada, the United States are more like elected dictatorships rather than democracies. In 2018, when I was in Canada, I went to go talk to my dad's lawyer about this. And at first he said he would help me, and then months went by. I realized he decided not to help me, which should be illegal. If he decided not to help me, he should at least emailed me or called me and said, you know what, I'm not going to do anything about this. But he did say one thing. He said that things for me in Canada were going to get real nasty. And this was before the assault. So he knew something. Not sure what, but he knew they were planning something. Stress causes my anxiety and my depression to get worse. And after 9 years of anxiety attacks, it's just been a year or two since they stopped. It's like, and now this starts. It's like one step forward, 2 steps back. And it was quite stressful, but it wasn't too bad. I think my anxiety, these irrational fears of stupid things made me stronger to deal with, well, the Canadian and the United States governments, where I'm not afraid of them at all, or even a little bit at this point. They're completely incompetent. These people aren't qualified to wipe their own asses. I believe it was a CRA agent that assaulted me because they threatened to call immigration on me, and they've done that before. They did that back in 2008, 2009, when our primary residence back in Canada was signed to my name. They said if you move to the States, which my mom and sisters had already done, that they would call immigration and not let us immigrate to the States. Migrate to the States? Not sure if they have any power. I don't think the United States Immigration Department cares what the CRA has to say, especially if they can't back it up with facts. And this is the main reason why I'm afraid to go back to Canada, because it's a unjust system I have myself trapped in. And as a Canadian citizen, I shouldn't be afraid to live in Canada, to have these agents assault me, threaten to ruin my life, threaten to make up new tax debts to bleed money out of me. And I was expecting the RCMP to do something about it, the members of parliament to do something about it, but so far on deaf ears. I will eventually find a way to take them to court. I don't care if it takes me 10 years or 20 years, I will take them to court. And I will win, because they're lying. If they were telling the truth, they would have taken my dad to court back in 2005, 2006, when this began. But they knew then that they would lose this in court. Oh, did I happen to mention they want $620,000 now? People are ridiculous. I just don't want to spend $300 an hour on a lawyer. That's way too much money for someone who doesn't currently have a job. I remember when I left my dad's lawyer's office back in Abbotsford, I was so stressed out, and my anxiety and my depression get a lot worse when I'm stressed out. And it had only been a year at this point since I got over my anxiety attacks. Lawyer doesn't want to help me. News media, MPs, senators, and of course the Canadian government wants $500,000 from me, and the BC government wants $1,400 in these medical service plans. I was just so stressed out leaving the lawyer's office, especially when I found out that he doesn't want to help me out either. Then later that night, I get a phone call from my sister saying, that my dad had a heart attack. And like, can things get any worse? I remember driving and I just started laughing. I'm like, things can't get any worse from this. I'm at rock bottom. And no, I'm not going crazy. It was a relief. Like, this is rock bottom. And I felt a lot better after that. So if you're thinking I'm sitting here worried about the government wanting $500,000 from me, I'm not stressing out at all. Don't care. These people are clowns. I am hoping this goes viral and people watch this, and hopefully this triggers the Canadian government to do something to get me due process. That's all I want, is due process. And if the CRA and the IRS are watching, I think it's time for you to stop cowering behind your mother's skirts and face me in court. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my video. Remember to like, subscribe, and to ring that bell. Thank you.